right. Hey, good evening, good day, good morning, afternoon, everything, people. Welcome to the show. Once again, I was supposed to have a walker with me, but he choked. So instead, I have a great ancient with me today. It should be a fun time. Hi, Phil.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for joining me. So we have Bjorn with us again, making things sort of okay. Hopefully, things are gonna be nice. Alex is in the sidelines, just paying attention, I guess. And yeah, we'll have some mods. We have a shit ton of mods. You can say hi to the mods.
Hi, mods.
We have a bunch of them, so you can read their names in the back. They like
Queen, Pinos, Ryuti. Is that it?
Yeah, Ryuti.
Shiroku 1428. It's suggestive.
Yeah, there's also Murph,
Oh, okay, I didn't see it.
Lutzi, and Clyde. So, thank you, people, for joining us. Oh, who's that?
What about this guy?
Yeah, well, we call him Lutzi.
Hi.
Okay, so yay. Let's do this. I have a list of things to talk about. Let's start. First of all, PlayStation experience. So as we speak, Olivier, Gabriel, and Ben packed their bags. They're probably currently waiting at the airport. Gabriel can confirm this. Why is this not working? Oh, because all these things are in the way. Okay, let me fix this. There you go. So I think Gabriel is in the chat right now, making sure everything's okay. And they are on their way to Anaheim, where things are burning for the PlayStation experience, which should be quite a lot of fun. So as I said to a few people on Twitter and a few other places, if you come see us with a cosplay of Dead by Daylight, we will be thrilled. We will give you presents. And we will shake your hand or something. And at worst, just come with a flashlight.
I heard
It's
Ben
fine.
is good at shaking hands and.
I thought he was super creeped out by people touching him.
Maybe.
So let's just come by and hug Ben for just a little too long, please. The big news, well, they're the same as last week. So Headcase is coming to console very, very quickly. That's in the next patch, and it will be priced equivalent to what it is on Steam. So depending on the places in the world where you are, you'll pay different prices. Anniversary items are coming to console also, same patch, and it will be free.
Yep.
Because they're anniversary gifts. It says so in the crawler that's crawling at the bottom of the screen. Let's quickly talk about the hotfix patch 1.8.2. Nothing. D.
D.
Uh,
D was for.
It's the fourth one.
Okay.
1.8.2. So the next patch that I talked about for console and PC will be 1.8.3. It will contain the winter event that we talked about, I believe, and it will contain the rate update. And that is coming in the next patch, which currently is wrapped up on our side.
Yep.
We're waiting to make sure that it's ready to go out. So, yay. So what happened in 1.8.2D that came out this week was essentially when we flipped the switch for the save games to all go on our own systems, we discovered a critical issue, which meant that if you had not played the game since May of last year and you started now, the save games were not compatible. So there's a few people who started playing in that interim and they lost their progress, which is horrible. So we patched it and now it's not going to happen ever again. We had no idea. So that's done. We also fixed a few other loss of progress issues, so this should go way down. I was trying to get an update on the customer support situation because I know we have a shit ton of tickets and I wanted to get a better update on that. I did not talk to Nikki in time, which I will do for next week. I apologize. I wanted to get an update on that. I know the situation is still difficult right now.
Filip looks so tired.
Are
Thanks.
you tired, Phil?
Tiny bit.
Yeah. Then again, you tend to work way too much.
Yeah, well, we're trying to deliver some.
Yeah, but not just at work. Like
Uh,
you go home and you work on other shit.
I have shit to do.
You know, there's so many metal bands out there that need album covers.
Yeah.
It's true. I think it's probably like 90% of metal bands in Montreal
Yeah.
have their album covers made by you. It's amazing.
Something like
I do have a roadmap to share with people. Would you ever make a killer that's an alien? Actually, it's probably more likely than a zombie.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
the-
alien zombie.
I don't know. I think there's enough zombies around. Unless we
Yeah.
get a fun sort of zombie, like a good reason for a zombie. But just a zombie is,
Yeah, it's a bit boring.
you know,
What's his power?
I don't know, fall apart.
Yeah. That's cool.
That's pretty much it. He chews on people. He's a masticator. Okay, so roadmap, what's next? Well, I just finished saying that. So winter event and rate update are coming together in the 1.8.3. Then we are gonna have a PTB on the emblem system, which is scoring and pips rework. We absolutely want that to happen. The question is, will it be before the holidays or right after the holidays? I'm not sure. Clown zombie? See, that would be more interesting.
Yeah.
But it could just be a clown then.
Yeah, it could. Alien
It's
clowns.
trying to apply the makeup on a zombie.
Yeah,
Not sure.
the skin is not as receptive.
Yeah. So this is, by the way, not a cube. It is not a cube. It's slightly elongated, so we're not calling this a cube.
All right.
So yeah, you can move that. That's just the roadmap. As you know, it hasn't changed since last week. We've used you people to the idea of getting updates all the time. We're slowing that down right now. The only reason why we haven't made a significant update last week or this week is because it's not ready. And now it's ready, but it needs to go through certification and a bit of a process. And we'd like this one to come out on PC and console at the same time. So it means everybody waits a little bit. So there you go. What do I mean, you people? I mean, you people of the fog. That's all of you people out there. Do I have issues? That's a very good question. Do I have issues? Probably. Many issues, but we're not talking about that. Okay, so I do have some stats to share. This is going to be fun. Would you be willing to work with someone if they had a concept for a killer? Well, to be blunt about this, we have a shit ton of really cool killer concepts and ideas here, but we also are always listening to people who have good ideas for that. If you think you want to join the design team, we do have, well, I don't think that currently we have a position open, but if you have a ridiculously delicious resume, we're willing to look at it. We're always hiring talented people here in the company. There are other projects also. But if you just have a really cool idea for a killer, put it on Reddit, put it on the Steam forums, and we do spend way too much time reading those. Damn that Filip. Okay?
Nerf the doctor.
Where were we? What were we doing? Oh, stats. Yes, sorry. I do have issues then. Okay, so stats. I have a really interesting one here. Oh, we're starting with this one? Okay then. So this is the perks edition. Someone was asking, it had been a while since we talked about the top 10 of the used perks. So let's look at this. Top 5 survivor perks. So I put everyone and then rank one. I didn't, Julien did. But so everyone, self-care is still extremely popular all across the board. And I had a really interesting conversation at lunchtime about that, where it's kind of a crutch perk. And if we were to remove it, probably people would come to the office with pitchforks and just burn the whole place down. But it does break something in the fundamental loop of the game where, you know, it makes you not afraid of being hit, which is not the case when you play the vanilla game with no perks, and then getting hit is actually something. Sprint Burst, always a favorite. Then you have Borrowed Time, Decisive Strike, Empathy. So the things moved around a little bit since the last time we talked about these. Dead Hard made an. I mean, it's still part, but at least I like that when some of the new perks that we make actually make it into the top 5 list.
Am I blocking some of them?
No, it's fine. That's not your problem. That's Bjorn's problem. And on the Killers perk. No, you just removed us now. Well done. Then there we go. There's a bit more variety. Obviously, barbecue and chili is now an extreme joy. Nurse Calling, I think, is very interesting, especially at the top ranks. It's very, very seldom used at the bottoms. You can read. But so these are the top 5s for now on the. X Ruin is still a favorite. I mean, all of these are good, obviously. Consoles are hardcore and don't need Decisive Strike as much. I don't know if that's the case. That's also the very tricky thing with stats. Interpreting stats and making it say pretty much whatever you want is a profession in and of itself. But yeah, it's very interesting and it leads to good conversations, but it needs to you can never say for certain this is because of that. That's not how stats work. Next thing, we have a dangerosity of maps. There we go. So this is beautifully presented by Julien. You can see the maps, and on the left side is how many average escapes happen in the different maps. So you can clearly see in here that the Grim Pantry and the Pale Rose are the easiest to escape from to a certain extent. The cornfields are also helping quite a lot. And then at the very bottom you have things like the hospital and which is the coal tower is pretty bad too, and then you have the English Street, which is the preschool. The preschool is a dangerous place to be in. Probably has a lot to do with the fact that people are not as familiar with it as with the other maps yet, but they're also a good place to get murdered in. What?
Remove the hospital.
Is that from a survivor?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool. The hospital?
Did you enjoy making the hospital?
Well, yeah. It was pretty fun to do.
All right. So yeah, the hospital is a good murder place.
Yeah.
For killers, it's interesting. The hospital.
Yeah, there's some hospital fan there.
There you go.
All right.
So probably killers. Then we have the Q&A from the Steam page. I have questions here. Do you want to ask me questions and I'll act surprised and answer them?
Which one?
All of them, I think, except those that I scratched because I don't want to answer them because they're badly worded.
This one?
Yeah, sure.
Hi, Devs.
Yeah, that's us.
2 streams ago, you said you were considering removing blood dust when...
Bloodlust. Blood dust.
Sorry.
What's blood dust?
It's a ban.
Oh.
When the new cloud distribution system got released. I was just wondering if you have chosen whether to remove it or not, or make it into a perk.
So that was a conversation that happened when I wasn't there, but I checked, and the idea was to probably make it into a perk, but only if we can safely remove it from the gameplay, and because it still feels like it's needed right now to make the killers be able to get out of chases and finish them. But it could be made into a perk. That could be cool.
That was from Cake Duty.
Cool. I'm sure they're happy that you said their name.
Say Valentine. Will you add all Allo Eyes 2017 for Ag, Doctor, and Huntress?
So those were the eyes that we made for Halloween last year, the orange eyes for a few of the killers. Obviously, the Doctor and the Huntress never got them, the Hag either, because they weren't there at the time. And we will not add those for these. But
There's a but.
there is a but, and it's a big but. And I will leave it at that, because I have not been cleared to discuss anymore. But there is a but.
Pepsi Dot, can we have more insight of what changes you are making to Raid Cube since Nut Queen made a thread about it?
Thread about it. So we put a lot of info about the Raid Cube and what's happening in it already, but once it's live, we will talk about it in details. Until then, it's not worth rehashing it. It's wrapped up right now. The patch is in certification, and we're waiting on it. Hang on to your hat.
Mercury, is there a way you would introduce more hiding place like lockers, like hiding underneath tree roots, which are mostly buried out, curtains or treatment theater, or maybe a small boat which has been turned upside down on backwater swamp maps? Any ideas in general?
Yes, many. You can probably talk about it a little bit. I'm sure you were part of the conversation with Matt Lamarche saying, oh, can we hide under this, and can we make a thing where you can crawl under the thing and hide under cars and in car trunks, and oh, can we put a tree where you can hide in it and things like that?
Yeah, but we were missing a bit of time and resources.
We tend to run out of time. That's our general pattern.
But we usually think about a lot of spaces we could hide, but it's involve a lot of persons, so it's not just one person doing something, it's a 2, 3, 4 person thing.
But these conversations happen all the time, and we do have a bunch of ideas. Every time we do a new map, actually, we try to squeeze in a few more things.
Yeah.
And we tend to be able to add, sometimes it's a small thing, sometimes it's the ding in the gas station.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a little bigger. So,
it's always putting a smile on our face, but it's not putting a smile on some other people. Crypto.
What does crypto want?
How and when will you address palette looping, different hitbox sizes?
So palette looping is one thing, and we've talked a little bit about the new system to make sure that the palette generation is handled better. That's how we're addressing that. The when, I don't know exactly. And the different hitbox sizes, that's probably what the people are calling the fat shaming spots, where the survivors can squeeze in between two objects, but the killers can't go through. And these are edge cases when certain tiles are rotated certain different ways, and you have like rare combinations of items that will create those spots. We just need to find them and destroy them as they appear. But there's so many combinations of how things can be done that it's hard to reproduce this exact combination and spot it.
Yeah.
But when we do, we try to remove them.
All right, you have time for another question.
Yeah, sure.
Soren, hello devs of the fog. Do you have stats of the most used perk as for now?
We just showed those.
It's true. We have barbecue and chili. All right, Scum Killer.
Okay.
Murph, maybe we could have a handful of the team give their answer.
Oh yeah, I didn't get those. I got one from someone, and that's it. So I'll keep that from some other time. So someone was the person was asking for licensed killers, like your favorite licensed characters, not just killers, that you could get in the game. What would it be? And for different people on the team. So let's do a quick informal survey. Alex.
The Ring Girl.
The Ring Girl. Samantha? No. Samara.
In the Hollywood version.
Oh, okay, yeah. What is it in the original Japanese? Huh?
Sadako.
Okay, that one. How about you?
Pinhead.
Oh, fuck, me too.
Let's do it.
Okay. Bjorn?
Pinhead. 3 pinheads, so we do it.
Okay. So we'll get you more answers on that in the coming weeks.
There's one left, I think.
Okay.
Lufus.
No way.
When are you guys going to reward
The totem
placement?
Oh, that's a tough one. That's gonna be really tough to fix properly and to find the proper placement for all of them. But yeah, that's another something that we absolutely need to clean up. There's some on the other side, but I need to get ready because we have Senor Varas coming to talk to us about animation,
All right.
and that's never gonna stop. So
Okay.
quickly before you leave,
Yep.
I would like to go through with my favorite bit, which is stuff that we found on the web. Oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention to Dick Fort and the other pleasant people of the mod.
4K.
Is 4K coming to console? Not anytime soon. A werewolf killer. Did we consider a werewolf killer?
Yeah,
We're
we're talking about a lot of stuff.
yeah, but this one is not so exciting, at least to me. If it's just that. The problem with your Bloodlust perk will render Beast of Prey useless. Well, then we'd rework this. Colorblind mode, we keep talking about it. We want to find a good solution for that. Why will you ever feature any of your other killers in featured cinematics like the intro trailer? The intro trailer was awesome, but it was super expensive. I don't know if we're gonna do another one like that anytime soon. It'd be cool. I'd rather do a full-length feature film,
Yeah.
but we'll see. New music tracks to the game. We do have some once in a while, but yeah, it'd be really cool. Winter killer with a winter survivor on a winter map. Aren't killers technically dead? Absolutely not. Or maybe the nurse
Yeah,
is
the nurse.
sort of dead-ish.
She's not looking too good these days.
She's had better. Okay, yes, let's go to the around the interwebs and what amazing things I've found this week. First thing, okay, that's a German person
Nice.
called Andy Werewolf, I believe. That's the name that was in there. I don't know if it's his birth name, but seriously, this is a dedication. I approve.
Birthmark.
Yep,
That's pretty awesome.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The second one is Atomic Future. It made me lol. It is exactly what you feel like when you're getting a special secret box. Beta Dwight created this pretty damn fine piece of art.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Blue Coke did a series of these fake killers that are essentially using other killers' weapons. I thought that was super interesting. I just
Purple
picked
smoke.
one of them. Dal Segno made this wonderful Fung and Doctor duo thing. Not exactly sure where the inspiration come from, but I will allow
It's
this.
pretty beefed up.
Yeah,
It's pretty awesome.
Then Demichi. I don't know what card game that is, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Then a little bit of
Nice.
pixel art from Exag here. That's cool. Pixel art is hard to do.
Takes
It's a,
time.
yeah. Then I don't have the name, but there was a female trapper that we met at WePlay. As awesome cosplayer, and she made this.
I want this.
Beautiful. Yes, please mold it and then make a few versions of it and send them over. Then we have Fid, who made this for a friend, or someone made this for Fid. I don't remember. It's pretty damn cool. Horapa made a whole series of all the characters in that style, which I thought was really awesome. Yeah, well done. Honey Bunny sketched this. Pretty cool ink. Inspiring work. Cactus Fruit. In this power couple, this is absolutely adorable. It should be made into like a safety blanket for a kid or something. Runner gave us this. I hope someone tags this on a wall somewhere and send us a picture. Do not do that because that's a crime in most places. Unless in Montreal we have like 3 places where it's
Yeah.
actually legal to do that. Go do that in a legal place or your own wall and then send it over.
Try to find some time to do it.
Sailbang made a bunch of little cute things like this. This is absolutely adorable. I like this. then I realized that nobody had seen Shelby's tattoo. So this is our one of our QA here, Shelby, and she's sporting this really cute little trapper tattoo. Terawatt.
Cool.
Yeah, a little bit of Freddy action there. It's really cool. Then we have Uncle Skeeter. That's nice.
Yeah,
you know, paint works.
Yeah, it does work.
You don't need much more than that. That could go in a museum. It's so simple. And then we have Your Obsession. Made this, I believe it's knitted or crocheted or something.
It looks like it.
Yeah, that's again, that's a lot of dedication.
Yeah.
It's fiddly work. My fingers hurt already thinking about that. The last one is from Petisis. So I think it was born out of some weird Pizza Hut outfits around the world, and someone forcing Dwight to wear this at Pizza Hut.
Poor Dwight.
And all the girls are laughing at him. So there.
Didn't shave his leg.
I don't think it was part of the job description. Anyway, so that was Around the Web. Thank you very much for sticking around. I will now kick you out.
All right.
We need
See you.
Varas. Thank you very much, by the way,
Fun.
for hanging out. It was good having you. And now we will get to the educational portion of the program. So Gabrielle is screaming that I'm not being restrained enough from the web. I don't care. You can't make me. You're not my real mom. All right, yeah. So the people here who are not interested in learning can probably switch to a different channel.
Yeah,
because
it's true.
Learning will happen now.
It will. It will. So prepare yourselves. It's going to be fun, though. I'll try to make it fun.
So
I think it's fun.
Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Sebastian is an animator on the team and a very pleasant person. So hopefully he will help you learn a thing or two about animation. So there you go. Let's get ready to learn. Do we have visual aids?
I sure hope so.
Okay.
All right.
So I'll take a question so I can ask them as if I understand. Actually, I do. I like to play the layman and the you know, so you can bounce ideas. But I actually started as an animator. Few people know that. My third career before. Anyway, do go on.
Okay. All right. So Bjorn, if you could throw up the first video. So for this educational portion, we'll be talking about everyone's favorites highlight stuff, which are the memento moris. This one in particular is the bear, or the huntress, I should say.
Codename the bear at the time.
Yep. In which you guys can see here, the huntress so kindly dispatches Dwight with a very savage axe chopping. One to the head as he struggles with it, takes him off, and two to the chest. Now, some people might ask, how does this process happen? How do we develop these memento moris? I think it's a very common question we probably get. Bjorn, if you want to pull up video 2, it all starts with a video reference, which here you can see me and Ricardo, another animator, act out the beautiful memento mori. Oscar-winning performance right there. So after we do the reference and the acting, you want to pull up video 3? It goes into the blocking phase, in which we try out different camera styles, unique poses, things like that. Just try and get a very rough version so people understand what's
getting
going
very
on.
strong. The extreme poses
Exactly.
is super important. And the video reference, one of the things that it gives you is that sometimes you don't think about it and you create a pose, but then you look at the video version that you made live and you're like, why is it different? And it's mostly because of gravity.
Yeah.
Because there's no gravity when you animate in Maya, and then you realize that your character could not possibly stand like this because all their weight is on the other leg while it's in the air or something. That's why it looks a little off, but it's not obvious.
Yeah.
You could never do that in real life because you'd fall or something.
Yeah, well, that's why reference is so important. You really
Yeah.
need to be able to see very clearly the actual mechanics of the body when it's performing the action. Of course, for memento moris, like the Huntress or the Hag would be another great example. We push the limitations of what a person could actually do.
Obviously.
But we try to make it feel good and believable.
One of the questions is, why are Moris not more brutal? Example, the Hillbilly Chainsaw splitting people in two.
Well, there's kind of two reasons for that. The first reason is a technical limitation, as to have people split into two would require unique models for every single survivor we have, which...
Yeah. You need to model the inside of people.
Yeah, exactly. For all the different outfits, so it'd be a lot of split version bodies.
Yeah.
And number two, even though our game is pretty violent, we're pretty open in a lot of countries, and
yeah.
If
Some countries don't react as well to explicit violence.
Yeah.
But also, I think we also always wanted to be more in the realm of the anticipation of the violence and the brutality more than the depiction of it itself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's in horror games and in horror in genre, there's a very fine line between suspense and terror and just a gore fest.
Yeah.
And that's why there's a big difference between Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho and Dead Alive.
For instance, yes.
I mean, those are two extreme examples, but
very valid.
Yeah, but it's a very fine line you have to tread.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the reasons why we don't like we have the chainsaw, but like for example, Hillbilly, we try and cut away a little bit for it. So your mind kind of fills in the blank.
But also, I think that there has been a change in the way we do things, probably starting with the Hag.
Yeah.
Because before we were a little more subdued with the Moris, and we started going a little more, increasingly more elaborate and intense since then.
Yeah,
so yes, a lot of people are asking, when are you going to redo the Trapper or the Rate? It might happen. It would be nice.
Yeah, that discussion happens on the floor from time to time, and we love. Like personally, I really like the Trappers, but there have been days where I'm like, you know what, we could crank this up to an 11.
But the funny thing about the Trapper's Mori also, it's simple and sort of short, because it used to be the default. Like you didn't need in the early prototype phases, you didn't need an offering to do it.
Yeah.
You could always choose to Mori people or to bring them to the hook.
And then you got me into the play test and I ruined it.
And we're like, but why wouldn't I just kill them outright? It's much simpler and it's safer. Alex was a proponent of just killing everybody outright. And we're like, no, you get more points if you bring them to the hook. And he's like, yeah, but I can just kill them, right?
Right, yeah.
Like,
I was the same way. I was like, why would I not kill them? He's like, well, you lose points. But I win.
Yeah, and then that's another cases where Dave just came in and said, no, let's make it an offering. And everybody's like, Dave, you're an idiot.
But it worked out well.
That's the one thing I want to do, and you're not letting me do it. He's like, no, trust me, it's going to work.
Yeah.
And it did.
Yeah, and then that's when we started kicking it up to like extreme levels and stuff like that. Made it really taste good, basically.
So that was a little apart, but please go.
Oh, yeah, sorry. And then so if you go to the next video now, we can see here, it's just out of the blocking phases, and here we start to experiment more with cameras and timing and things like that, so you can see some camera shakes. And she actually used to chop the survivor even more, and we have some nice little temporary guts placeholder.
Also, it's a long...
Yeah.
It's a long Mori at this point.
Yeah, this was actually too long, and we were starting to worry that it would break gameplay mechanics, like the Huntress would be stuck in a Mori for too long. So if you play the next video, now this is like the actual one just before it goes out into Unreal. You know, we got the timing right. We have things that, they're working well together, just the right amount of chops. Unfortunately, the guts didn't make it, but everything else is looking pretty swell. If you go to the next video, now this is the same animation, but this video will demonstrate all the different mechanics that go on under the hood before it goes into the engine. So here you can see the full Mori in its all glory, minus the cloth simulation. And then here we have what's called the skeletal system, or the joints of the characters. This is what's moving the mesh that you see on the screen. As animators, we don't animate the mesh per se, but rather the skeleton underneath it. But you don't really want to animate the skeleton either, so we animate what's called controllers, which are these little blue curves you see on the screen. So that's actually what we're animating. It's more like moving around with marionettes or puppets and trying to get the poses just right.
Why always Dwight?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I just like killing Dwight.
He's the default survivor.
He is.
He's the first survivor we made.
Yeah.
So he's the default survivor.
He's the default.
That's it.
Yeah, and
The creepy floating face on the side is actually the facial rig.
oh yeah. That's the facial controller rig,
Yeah.
and because we have a facial rig and we use it sometimes a little, which we go like a little big, and then we have to dial it back.
Yeah.
And but to give you an idea of what the animation's like, if you want to pull up the
An
image.
interesting side question: is the Mori for the hag? Is she pulling out the heart or the liver?
The liver. Liver. Well, because liver's tasty, right?
I
Everyone
guess.
likes liver.
I'm not a fan, but
I mean,
yeah, okay, I can see that.
the hag-
It's nutritious, I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, I mean, the hag was a person at one point.
Yeah, she's still person-ish.
Yeah. Ish.
But hearts, people eat hearts. They're a
Do
muscle. Yeah.
Who?
But you like a nice. I say nice. I don't like it, but like they make salad with like chicken
With
hearts and
hearts?
things. Yeah, you can eat. You can eat everything.
I guess that's
It's usually
true.
like
Yeah.
a local delicacy, and you go, yeah, someone else was eating the rest of the chicken. That's why you got the hearts. But still, people eat it.
Okay, so here we can actually see a quick image of Maya, the software we use to animate in, and
Maya.
yeah, Maya, and this animation here, the Huntress, was about 375 frames to animate for just 12.5 seconds of animation, and because we generally run at 30 frames per second when we animate, and as you can see, I don't know, Born, if you can zoom in a little bit on that. If you can't, maybe the viewers can see it. Those little red dashes on the bottom left side, that's a unique key that takes place on every single frame. And that's only for the Huntress. That doesn't include Dwight. To give you an idea of how much keying and effort goes into just one 12-second bit of animation. Oh, if you can, it's okay. On the right side is the graph editor, in which we use to manipulate the the angles of movement within the animation. And what you're looking at there is just 1 second of animation. That's just 30 frames.
It gets messy.
It gets very messy. It gets very complex. So as an animator, you kind of have to like, understand the curves.
Yeah. It's funny because when you do animation classes, everybody's got the same book written by the guys at Disney or whatever.
Yeah.
The Principles of Animation, I think it's called.
Yeah, well, the two books, one is a Disney one with the 12 principles. That's The Illusion of Life.
Yeah.
And then the other great one is Richard Williams'
Yes.
Animator's Survival Kit.
Yes, that's the one. I still have it in my desk, I think.
Oh, wow.
But the first thing like you need to learn is like make a ball bounce.
Yep.
And it teaches you everything to know. Everything you need to know essentially is just getting the timing right and the spacing right and how much like every frame should last and all these things. It's the same principle for everything, and it's all about curves and
Yeah.
the movement and the timing. And so that's why you work with curves like this so that the movement has a nice flow from one to
Exactly.
the next.
Because I mean, one of the most critical principles is always timing and spacing.
There you go. Not even open wounds like gashes, not something like split in half, just a large visible cut. So we have pieces of meat that we can put in since the hag.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
used it in 1 or 2 instances, but usually it doesn't look so good in everything, so we just put a lot of blood and leave it at that.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
We work with what we got.
There you go.
We can jump onto another Mori real quick.
If some fan made reference videos for what they think would make good Moris for old killers, would you look at them and consider doing them?
I'm going to assume he means like acting it out and not actually murder.
Hopefully, yeah. We'd be looking at them, of course.
Yeah,
if
of
there's
course,
really
yeah,
cool
yeah.
ideas.
Yeah,
but
if you
always
guys want to send me like reference videos of like acting out Moris or just cool YouTube links to great horror films, I'll definitely check it out and use it for inspiration for the next Mori.
Are all skeletons unique or are they repeated?
Both. I mean, sometimes we repeat the skeleton if characters are the same size. For example, Survivors. Some of them are repeated throughout the multiple times. Like Jake and Dwight are pretty similar. Meg and Claudette are pretty similar. I know David, King, and Ace have the same rig, exactly the same. So
Okay.
yeah, so I mean, we sometimes use unique
Between
rigs.
killers,
It's
tougher, but
tougher, yeah, definitely tougher. Nurse is definitely a unique rig. Hag's a unique rig. But Michael Myers, Trapper, and like Hillbilly are the same. They're exactly the same. So yeah, I mean, we try to work always smarter.
yeah. Sebastian's name is wrong. It says Filip Ivanovic.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, thank you very much for spotting that. What was your favorite kill animation to work on?
Favorite one? That's a tough one. I would probably, it's a toss-up between...
The Doctor?
Doctor's a good one. That was a fun one. But I really like the Nurse a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like the nice
With
little,
the
like
little,
hand, yeah, the little hand touch.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the few animations I worked on that I actually creeped myself out. I was like, whoa, I'm going to dark places with this. And then, God, what's the next one? Hag was really fun too. Yeah, I would probably say Nurse and Hag were my two favorite. And
Okay.
Bear, you know what? God, Bear was, they're all my favorite. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
Yeah, well, that's...
I'm gonna say Nurse. Just stick with Nurse.
why does the Hillbilly have an animation to set up traps and untrap himself?
The Hillbilly? You mean the Trapper?
No, it says the Hillbilly. So, what, maybe in the game files there's a
There could have
animation
been.
for that, but
You have to do like some serious data mining for that.
yeah, I guess.
Because that was maybe like an early prototype thing. But
No, there shouldn't be. There's no reason.
No.
No.
Hillbilly has no reason to have a set up trap. So
Yeah. Oh yes, yeah, they have that. It says. Well, we don't know. So please go on. Sorry,
Okay.
we got distracted again.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's good. We're learning things, right? It's
That's why we're here.
educational. All right. So the next thing is the fantastic Leatherface, and here we can see some early blocking.
Hey, it's Claudette this time.
Oh yeah. This time it's Claudette. Well, I actually didn't. This one was not made by me. This one was an animation created by our wonderful animator Ricardo, and here we can see some of the blocking he did. And in the initial phase for this Leatherface animation, he wanted to put the infamous like dance at the end that Leatherface does in the first movie.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, well, I mean, it's kind of an animator trope that we get carried away
Yeah.
when we do things. So we always want to make animations bigger and longer and better. And we're like, yeah, this is going to be too long if we put the dance in.
Like the first time you see the Mori, you go, "Fuck yeah, that's awesome," and then the fifth time you get Mori, you disconnect.
Yeah, pretty much. So if you go to the next video, we can see here it's just come out of step mode, and again we're starting going to like the splines. You can see the animation more clearly. We have some nice like spin around.
Claudette is bald. Yeah, now she's got
Now
hair.
she's got hair. Yeah. Well, sometimes we have to turn off the certain accessories so we can see things more clearly.
Yeah.
Like for example, Leatherface here, he has his apron on, but it's rather stiff because it's not simulated yet. As that's all done in engine. And then if we go to the next one. Now here it is, again for the final version, with the actual in-game camera. So you can see what it looks like in-game. I have some video references too from like the inspiration for it. Unfortunately, we couldn't show them all because they were a little graphic.
It's an 18+ stream.
Oh, it's an 18+ stream?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
You
okay,
have to be
well-
an adult to watch this. I do
Okay,
say fuck
roll
and
the clip.
stuff.
Warning, graphic content, viewer discretion is advised.
Make more variation of Killer's Moris to have a choice. Would that be possible? It would be possible.
It would be possible.
But
And
we need a system for that. It'd be really cool.
yeah. So here's the inspiration for like that chainsaw like deep dive and then pull up is from the first movie. When Franklin gets killed in the wheelchair. Probably just
That hence the Franklin's demise, where
Yeah.
he loses his flashlight.
Yep. And you could probably stop playing that clip now if you want. I don't know how many times people can watch a person getting chainsawed, but yeah. So that was some of the inspiration. How I wish I'd known this was an 18+ stream. Would have showed more clips. So yeah. So that's our video reference point, we can actually dive into a bit into
Yes,
Maya if we have
please.
time.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We still have a little bit of time. The question: how long did it take to make Michael Myers Mori?
That took me about a week, I would say. About 1 week. Warriors can take anywhere between like.
And he's back to being called Filip.
Hey!
Seriously.
Warriors can
okay.
take anywhere between like 1 week to 3 weeks, depending on the level of complication.
Yeah, and the rework that has to go in.
Mhm.
So, especially if you need licensor approval, you know.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
These things take time and. Yeah.
Yep. So, Bjorn, should I switch log in my thing?
Oh, you have your remote desktop here, I believe. There you go.
Okay, great.
Oh, that's a good one. Why is it that sometimes the Mori gets completely displaced and the grab animation happens in the wrong spot, for example with Myers, and then you keep stabbing air?
That is a good question. I'm having trouble with the login. Well, the short and long of it really has to do with
Network sync?
yeah, pretty much with network sync.
If it was a single player game, that would never happen.
Yeah, it would be no problem. It's usually a network sync issue, and it also has to do with like colliders in the world. So, if example, if you're grabbing somebody
Next to a tree or next to a hook.
yeah, or next to a generator, something with a very large collision box, and there's some sort of weird network delay, it can cause serious issues.
Oh my god, you saw Bjorn's hand.
Oh my god!
So you know that he's got at least 5 fingers on one hand already.
But-
That's a lot of the legend going away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't. It's good that it's only his hand. If the viewers see anything more, their heads might melt like Raiders of the Lost Ark.
He is an intimidating guy.
He is.
Do you plan on adding any more subtle animation into the game to make it seem more ominous, like doors slightly swinging ajar? We don't have doors.
No.
Wind blowing through the grass.
But if we did have doors, we would make them swinging slightly ajar in the wind.
But we'd have leaves falling.
Yeah.
That's particles.
Yeah.
And the grass does move a little bit.
It displaces
itself.
when you move through it, I believe.
There's no natural movement to the grass and the corn.
I think on some
No.
levels, not the corn, but some levels they do, yeah.
Yeah.
The main reason why we don't have more of that is just kind of like a performance issue. We want to make sure that frame rate always stays high, and
Yeah.
as much as we love those soft, beautiful elements, every time we add something new to that, we have to factor in how it will affect people's computers and consoles.
Yeah, especially on low end and especially on console.
Yeah.
Now, I think you're set up.
Oh, great. Okay, cool. Just let me double check I have the right thing. Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm good.
So this is what you look at all day.
Yes, this is basically what I work with when I open up a scene with Maya. We kind of work in a very interesting two reference system. So here, this is very weird to use the touch.
Not the touch screen for this, but
Yeah, and not actually use a.
yeah, we don't have a mouse. We don't have mouses in here.
It's okay, I
It's
can
the
work
land
with
of
this.
Twitch. No, don't worry about it.
So here we can actually see the skeletal system and the Huntress with all her interesting body parts. I have it set to reference viewer. There we go. So normally when I'm animating, I'm actually hide this stuff here, like the veil and the dress, because that's all going to be simulated. And here we have the joints, as I was saying before. Also, just I guess full disclaimer: this is where it's going to get real educational. So
Go for it.
If you guys get bored, just put on some loud music and overlay it the audio of this. But don't leave. Don't stop watching. So here we have like the joint system, like I was saying before, and we actually skin it to the mesh itself. So we don't actually have to manipulate the mesh, because if we did have to do that, which back in the day animators did.
Well, you have like morph.
Yeah, we have more stuff. Well, if way back in the day, I'm talking like Maya 1.
Yeah.
Animators actually had to move these individual little verts at a time. I'll just zoom in on that. They had to actually move these tiny little verts and
Yeah.
get them to like move. So like we would select huge clusters at them at a time. and then like just start to rotate or bend them. I can't do this now because it's already been skin bound to the bone, so the Maya actually won't let me move it. But it was a nightmare, just a pain.
Do you work in IK or FK?
Both, actually, depending on the situation. For those who don't know, FK stands for forward kinematics, which is what happens when you select one of these bones here and just rotate it like this. And IK stands for inverse kinematics, in which Maya can actually do the solving. So here's the control rig that we actually animate on top of the skeletal system. And IK, which is inverse kinematics, is when you select a controller like this, and you can manipulate the bones via translation. And the software will kind of auto-calculate the interpolation of elbow joints and wrist and things like that.
According to some limits that you can set beforehand.
Yeah, exactly.
So you do a lot of the setup first, and then you can sort of let the computer run the rest.
Exactly, exactly. Generally, though, I don't like to work in IK except for feet or something that's being firmly planted on the ground. Like, so let's say you have a character resting his hands on a table. I would do that in IK. If they're just swinging their arms around to get natural overlap action going on, I would do it in FK. So it's really about
what works best.
Yeah. As an artist, you should never ever like limit yourself to just one specific tool. You know, if you only know how to use a hammer, then every problem looks like a nail. What? Is there a question?
Nothing. I'm trying to read the questions.
Oh,
that
okay.
was a beautiful thing about hammers.
Okay.
Everything looks like a nail. But I was trying to read some questions.
Okay. So that's why I paused.
Yeah,
for a second to read that.
don't wait on me.
Okay. So here we have the actual control rig that's on top of our skeletal joints. Because animating on top of joints themselves in Maya can actually lead to more problems. So it's better to work with these control rigs. In which case, you know, for example, I select this nice little rig here, and I can manipulate the head. Other groovy things. Sorry if I seem really slow working like this. Again, I'm using the touch mouse. Another cool thing is we have a beautiful system set up for our first-person view within the rig. So to help us with animation time, opposed to creating a bunch of unique animations for first and third person, we have this lovely little system here, in which we call the FPS, first person. Well, the FPS is first-person shooter, but
it's first-person system.
First-person system, yeah. So we have these lovely little controller systems I built, in which all you have to do is select which arm view you want to be in, first or third, and the arms will automatically snap to it. So we create one set of like body animations in which the character's body will perform the things we need to do, such as killing someone, running through the woods, throwing an axe at somebody who's window vaulting or pallet looping you.
Turn her head 360 and make her drop dead, please.
I could, but that would be a 4-hour stream in itself on which I would animate that. And after we finish the third-person view, we can go back and switch the arms to first-person view. And then basically all we have to do after that is animate the first-person arms.
So there will every animation for killers has to have a first-person and a third-person version.
Right.
So that's the version that the survivors will see when they look at the killer.
Right.
And it needs to fit with the animation that the killer will see when they're playing the game in first person. And they need to fit, even though they are almost never identical.
Never identical.
No.
Because, for example, for the killer's perspective, they need to understand that, like, you know, they have a weapon in front of them and it's usable.
Or through their hand, in her case.
Yeah, or through her. That's the default position of the axe. But it's very important for the player when they're playing our game that they understand they have a weapon, a big old machete in their hand. So for first-person view, we keep the arms forward like this, so the player can clearly see that. But as a survivor, if you saw that, you'd be like, "That's so silly! What the heck is this killer doing?"
Yeah.
So then that's when we create the third-person view in which we lower the arms down.
Can you take her mask off? That's a very popular request right now.
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
So we'll actually be showing the.
Wait, should I? Should we leave it a mystery?
I don't know.
I don't know. You're the boss man. You tell me.
Just a moment.
Just a
I'm
moment?
curious.
Okay.
I saw that, but I don't remember.
Okay. Let me just. Oh, can I?
It's probably not. Oh, can I? Oh, it's not working.
It's not working. Oh no, we're losing it. Sorry, guys.
Uh,
Wait. Okay, there we go. Oh man, using this touch mouse seriously is so hard. Okay.
Oh,
there we go.
well, she's a pretty one.
She is lovely. Look at that majestic face. There you go.
So that's the Huntress with her mask on. Okay.
Mystery solved.
Well, sort of.
I'll just minimize that. There we go.
Okay, so do go on.
Well,
Phil going, no, you were too late. And she does look a little bit like 11.
a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Okay.
Then we could go over some more questions, or I can dive into, if you want to get real nerdy on the stream.
Well, we do have like 2-3 minutes left, so.
2-3. Let's go with questions. And I feel like.
Okay. So what else we have? What was the hardest killer to animate?
Ooh, the hardest? Probably it's a toss-up between Hag and Freddy.
Yeah.
Mostly because they are much smaller in size.
Yeah.
So having them interact with survivors is super complicated. And then the other, I'd probably even say Freddy, just because not only is he like the smallest we ever had, like Hag is small, but I think Freddy might actually be slightly smaller. His arms don't extend as far. So doing the attack animations and making sure that one killer doesn't have the advantage over the other.
So that's why the lunge may have felt a little faster, because he actually has to cover more ground at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, should I tell the animation secret for Freddy though? Because there's a secret we do with him that people haven't noticed yet.
I don't know that secret.
I think it'll be okay.
Yeah, go.
So most people probably don't notice this, but to also help besides with the lunge to compensate, we cheat a little in the animations. I actually took the time to create a skeletal system in the claws of Freddy. So when he's doing his swipe, it's only about 4 to 5 frames in length, if I recall correctly. 4 frames. And in those 4 frames, very precisely, we actually extend the claws way further than they're supposed to be.
So they reach.
So they reach the survivor. Oh. So when you look at it subconsciously, you think, oh, it clearly hits. But if you were to stop it, it'd be, oh my God, that's so silly. His claws just grew 10 feet.
But that, in animation, there's a lot of that.
Oh, a lot.
It
all
needs
the
to
time.
look right, and that's it. Can you recommend some open source video editing software for someone just getting into game animations? I don't know why it's video editing.
He probably means like 3 animation stuff. A great open source one is probably Blender.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah. Blender back in the day.
Actually, even now, it's still solid for modeling and for animation.
No, absolutely. That's what I'm going to say. Like, I'm only fronting this information because if you read old posts on the web, people might bash Blender.
Yeah.
But nowadays, actually, Blender's become very powerful and very robust and can it's free. Yeah, and it can rather compete well with Maya and 3ds Max. Another great one, if you want to be very specifically an animator, and this might even sound weird, but Source Filmmaker is actually not a bad starting point.
It's true.
Just because there is a huge community of people who use it and a lot of free assets.
That often makes the difference, because you can have the best software in the world, and if you have nobody to talk to about it and ask questions, it's not as good as something that might be clunky, but there's so many people talking and helping each other that it becomes something useful.
Yeah, but I only recommend that one if you very specifically want to animate it. If you want to do modeling or other things, don't bother with it.
So do the hitboxes for survivors and killers ever change depending on the animation that's playing? That's not specifically animation related, because that's gameplay programming. But the hitboxes do change. When you crouch, it's smaller so that the hacks, for instance, won't hit you.
Yeah, that's true.
Can we control the vertical direction of animations, pointing fingers and waving hands in survivors? Not only pointing straight forward, but moving up and down, such as pointing to an item on the ground or the killer on the 2nd floor.
I like how this question is pre-fronted, saying oh, I just want to point at an item at the ground. It's yeah, sure. You just want to taunt the killer, saying no, you're going down.
But
we've all played Dark Souls. We know what that emote's really for. But I mean, is it possible? Yeah, but I think rather than just having directional pointing, probably just having more emotes would probably be the better solution. When you agree, just being able to emote more things.
But then that becomes a full system. The whole thing right now is that the gestures are just a layer on top of what you're doing right now.
Yeah. I think that was another question, isn't it?
Well, there's a few talking about the hair animation, but that would probably be a whole show in and of itself.
I could talk length about that.
Yeah. What animation gets under your skin, and how would you change it?
Okay, I can talk about that one.
Just quickly, we are actually getting to the
On the
end of
cusp?
the show.
Oh, okay. Also finger guns. I had to. Animations that get under my skin. Currently, we honestly tried to fix all the animations that get under our skin because I mean it does happen. One of them was the hooking system, in which we did fix. It's working a lot better now. Currently, what's under my skin is probably the interaction system, and the issue before that was mentioned with characters floating in the air, where, like, when you grab somebody in a window on a pallet, that does kind of irk me. And
Yeah.
but you know, we're making steps towards improving that in time, soon.
Yeah. New killer teas, please. No.
No.
Not now. Not this one.
No.
But I just had a really good idea at the beginning of the show about how to tease it. So that's gonna happen.
That'd be fun.
Will you go to Poland? Maybe. I don't know. I've never been to Poland.
Neither have I,
It's
yeah.
a really nice place to visit, but I haven't had an opportunity. So yeah, we gotta wrap this up because we would be here all day. Thank you very much for joining us once again. Thank you, Sebastian, for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Bjorn and Alex, for being here and helping out our mods. That was useful to have you here, and I know it's a circus out there, so we appreciate the help. The news, quickly. PlayStation Experience, some people are already on their way. I'll be joining them tomorrow with a few more. We will be there greeting you and happily talking about the cool stuff that's happening for PlayStation. Headcase is coming on console with the next update, which is currently wrapped up and waiting certification. The anniversary items are coming for consoles in the next update and will be free for everybody. And it's coming in the next update also. We just had a hot fix to fix a problem with people who hadn't logged in since May 2017. They were coming back to the game. They had a problem with the save game that's taken care of. You saw the roadmap, so the rate update and the winter event are both coming in the next patch 183, which is scheduled to come in as soon as we have our certification.
It's good, guys.
It's good?
Good.
Alright. And that's it. Oh, I have words of the day. It is a quote from Terry Pratchett, probably my favorite author. And it's from the book called The Last Continent. And it says, people's whole lives do pass in front of their eyes before they die. The process is called living.
That's a good one.
There you go.
I like that.
So thank you very much for joining us once again. And hopefully you learned a thing or two. And see you next week.